so now I'm back. I have worked my bottom ribbing, and once I started working the ribbing, I had to make another decision. You know, I had gone to Joann's to get the extra yarn because I found that just certain places maybe we did need to, or you might need to manipulate the color sequence, not how wide or how narrow the rows are of color. Your eye, you know, will notice that, but just to keep the colors in order. So once I got to the bottom, the color changed one more time down here about 1 inch at the bottom of my 1x1 ribbing. It changed to the white, the creamy color. And I did the whole thing about 1 inch of knitting, and then I decided I didn't like that. So I manipulated the yarn and went in my cake and found some, you know, pulled out some of the pink and just connected it on. And I just think that looks a lot better to have at least the bottom ribbing in one color. That was just me now. So now I'm at the bottom and I am getting ready to bind off. I have already started binding off, and I thought I better save some. So let's see if I've got my little bind off. Ooh, I probably don't have my needle here. Hold on. Sometimes I like to use a little short one it just moves so much faster. But that's okay. I'll just use what I have. All right. So we are binding off in the 1x1 ribbing. And here we go. And I am on the wrong side of the work. See, here I am on the wrong side, and I am binding off in pattern. That means I'm staying in the 1x1 ribbing. So I've just knit 1 stitch. Now I'm ready to purl the next stitch. Then I just simply reach back and bind off. Do the last few on camera. Most of you already know how to do this, so. But knit, then there's a knit stitch, reach back and bind off. A purl. Let's see if I can finish up these last few stitches. Okay. Well, did you put your sweater, like I say, hopefully you've put your sweater on, and by the time you get down here, I mean, you've passed that point, so hopefully at the very end, we'll talk about any, you know, when we're done with the sweater, we'll go back over and talk about any changes that you might feel like you need to make, or, you know. So that was a purl, so now I need to knit and reach back and bind off. And purl. Of course, if you did your sweater in a solid, of course, you didn't have to make some of the decisions we made that, you know, I just wanted to see what this yarn would do, how it would look. Oops, bind off. I almost forgot to bind off. I started to knit. I'm binding off. Okay. Now yarn in back, knit the next stitch, reach back and bind off, yarn in front, purl, bind off, back, front purl, bind off, knit, bind off. Of course, I end with a purl stitch, reach back and bind off, and then of course I had that 1 stitch, you know, that we were slipping or knitting, so I need to knit my stitch, reach and bind off, and I can pull a loop and whack it off. And now we can go back up to the top. I'll just pull this through and I'll come back down. I just want to make sure that we get back to the top. So now I've bound off my front edge and I stopped that border, everything looks good. I'm glad I went ahead and cut the yarn and just added all pink at my bottom edge. I wanted a nice wide ribbing. You know, it's a cardigan, so I wanted the bottom to have a little weight. I didn't want it to, you know, to ride up or anything. And this, having more stitches at the bottom, it just looks much nicer because I tried mine on too. Okay. Now, before we start on the sleeve, I want to show you the sleeve that I finished. So let me check my camera and move it over because I'm moving the sweater. So I'm going to have to move out a little bit. Hold on. I'll just have to keep pulling it over till I can get it in the shot. There we go. Okay. So, I went ahead, of course, and I've done one sleeve so I could be ahead. And here's my sleeve. And we're going to work the opposite sleeve together, of course. And I also found the same thing. Once I got down and I was working on the colors, the color changed. And I didn't want another color change, so I manipulated the yarn at the bottom. I thought, well, pink was the last color. I would continue to do the ribbing in pink, and I gave myself a nice wide ribbing. And I'm going to show you how I've done the decreases on my sleeve. All right, let me get it all set up, and we will start. Guess what? We're going to pick up stitches for the sleeve. We'll start knitting our sleeve. Looks pretty good. Look, see, it's keeping the color in order. That's what you want to worry about. Don't worry about how wide the stripes or how narrow. Just keep that color because it's pleasing to the eye and your eye will adjust to it. Okay, be right back. Alright, so I have gone to the sleeve that we're going to work together. And I have taken my number 9 16-inch in length circular needle, and I am going around now to just transfer the sleeves from the scrap yarn. Here's my scrap yarn, and I'm just making my way around to where we can pick up sleeves up under the arm. But first I need to get all those stitches transferred from the scrap yarn and put them back on my needle. And I'm just about to the end. You can see it right there. I get that last stitch. I have it on my circular needles now. I can slowly pull out. See? Just slowly pull out. And if you use some nice big yarn, it usually, you don't get it. It doesn't tangle up as bad. And I can just pull it right out. So there's that. Now, like I was saying before, way back when, once I've worked on the sweater size and I've adjusted and you know, tweaked it and whatever, and I know this sweater is a good fit for me. It's not, you know, it's a very nice, relaxed fit, and it works good, and these stitches are fine. Then I will skip this part. I don't use, that's just me. I'm just sharing with you how I do. I just don't have to put the sleeves on scrap yarn anymore. I go right to my number 9 circular needles. So this is how I leave mine, and then I would just cap them off and then come back up like we're getting ready to start. So now we're going to start. I have my stitches on here, and I put a little mark, tried to mark the center down here where I added, you know, we added stitches here to close that gap. And then I went ahead and knitted the body, and now we're back up here, and now we need to, well, now we need to add our yarn and start knitting. But so this is why I have so many needles. Okay, this is what I do. Some people do it on double points. I just go right to another number 9 16-inch, and let me make sure I have that so you can really see it. See if I'm not too close. I hope I'm not too close. Okay, so I've got this another number 9 16-inch, and I have lots of them, you know. All right, so I don't have to stop. So first of all, I'm going to come down here and find that this little mark kind of told me where the center was. So I know I had 2 stitches. So I'm going to put my needle, this number 9, right there. I'm going to stick it in. And then I'm going to take the yarn that I'm adding, and like I say, I'm stopping with the cream color or the off-white, so that's what I'm going to knit with. And this is, you know, I had to go to Joann's to get the skein because I didn't have enough white from the other skein. So now I've got a new skein. When you, I like to leave a long tail. Even in my other sleeve, and I'll show you, I don't mind showing you, you know, we need to show you things, you know. But no matter how careful you are, I was so careful, and I still had a little hole that's going to bother me. So if you leave a long tail, when we get ready to start knitting this sleeve, that will just stick down in the sleeve, then you'll have yarn already attached to mend any little holes that you might have. And I don't care how, sometimes you just, it's just part of knitting, people. I tried so hard. Okay, so here we go. So I've got, I'm going to cap this side right here. I'm capping that side because I'm knitting in this direction. Let me just tell you that. Let me pick up the stitches first. All right, so here we go. All right, I take my yarn, I leave a long tail down in there, just stick it down in there, and I loop it over my needle, and I just start. I'm going to pull that through, and then I find the next stitch that I had, and I use the tail and the working yarn, and I pull the next loop through. I want to lock that tail in, then I can drop it. I could have left a little longer tail, but I think it'll be just fine. Okay, now the next thing, there's still a large gap right here, but we closed off our yarn overs. This is where we closed off the yarn over increases right there, and we did a make one. So what I want to do, and this is just something I don't even count these stitches. This is a given to me. I know in this corner, from these stitches to where I picked up the stitches, I know there needs to be a stitch here. That's just a given. So I'm going to, as long as I go up under 2 strands and knit that on, now I can move up to the stitches on the other needle here. And I will just simply start knitting. And I see I dropped one, so let me get up to that one that I dropped. I dropped one right there when I was putting it on. So I'm going to stick it on, okay? I just didn't want to lose that. Okay, now I'll tell you what we're going to do. How I do work my sleeve. This is, you know, if it works, I don't... If it's not broke, I don't try to fix it. So in my sleeve whirl, all right, I'm going to knit. I have short arms. Let me back up. I have short arms, so I don't need to decrease. I need to decrease faster. Let's put it that way. My arms are short, so I don't need a lot of stitches before I need to decrease. So right here, I'm going to knit around 1, and we'll have a marker when we come back to this point. We'll put a regular marker to mark that center. But that'll be row 1. I'm just going to knit around. That's row 1. Then I'll slide the marker, and I'm going to knit around again. That'll be row 2. Okay? And I will continue, then row 3, and then row 4. Does that make sense? That's to get started. Then after that, I will start the decreases. So let me just pick up, do a few more, and then I'm going to knit my 4 rows and then meet you back. Only do 4 rows, and then I'll show you the next step. So now I'm knitting off one needle onto another needle and not double points. This is a 9/16 in length circular needle. I want to get around to the other end so I can show you how I picked those stitches up. And like I say, from now on, if I was going to knit this sweater, which we are, because we're going to put different details and different lace and other things in here, then I just skip over that scrap yarn because I've already tried the numbers, if they are good numbers, and I've tweaked it or whatever we need to do. So now I can just go from one needle to the second needle and get this, start working on these sleeves. Saves a lot of time. Alright, now I'm trying to just see if I can get all this part on this part of the tape. See, I'm just knitting around to get back to the underarm space so I can pick up the other stitches. Now, I have to say this, I did find some of this, like I said, we're using inexpensive yarn. These are stash busting projects. But this little sweet roll yarn, it has some awful changes of color where the white wasn't as pretty and white, where it was off color. So, I guess you could say, well, Jay, but for practice, it's just fine. But I might would try one of the other brands to see if they would do better, or have or if it's a little better yarn than the sweet rolls that I got at Joann's. But it was fun, and I don't regret making this, and you know, like I said, I'm using it as a learning. Excuse me. All right, so I'm coming up to, here we go. All right, now look, I'm done with that needle. I'll save it. See? I lay it aside. Now I'm up to where that, we can tell where the increased gap is right there. And then we know where the other stitches are. The other two are right here. So I need to find a place to go up under 2 strands and continue to just knit those on. There's that one stitch. To me, that is a given. I put it in every sweater. I don't even I don't even add it as part of the count. That is a corner to go from here to here, and I think it needs to have a stitch. That's just me. I'm no expert, but I know if I don't put a stitch there, it's going to be a big hole. Then I look for the other 2 stitches, you know, because I had 4. You may have had, you have to, you know how many you had that you added on. I can get rid of this marker now and go back in. Let's see, where's that stitch? Go up under 2 strands. Wait. There we go. Now, guess what? I'm at the center of the bottom of my sleeve, right there. This is where I will add a marker so that I'll know where each round starts. I have just finished round 1. So when I slide the marker to this, when I go past the marker, now this represents round 2. And there's those 2 where I had that double strand, knit them as one. That was the tail, and just tighten it up. Now I will continue around, and I will do round 3 and round 4. So I will do these rounds, and then I will come back just like this. And so far, look at that. It looks pretty good underneath. There's the bottom. Looks pretty good. All right. Let me do a little work off camera because it's such a balled up mess, and then I'll come back and let you see what my progress is. Okay, now we're going to talk about the decreases. Just to recap, because I redid one part of this video. Once I picked up all the stitches, I went around this armhole, this arm space, 4 times, just to have everything nice and smooth. Everyone, if you are, my arms are short. I need to decrease really quick, so I will decrease every 4 rounds. If you want long sleeves or you just have longer arms, I suggest you decrease every 6 rounds. So, to get everybody on the same page and show you how I do it. Alright, so I've gone around, everyone started with either 4 rounds or 6 rounds with no decreases. Now I've done Now I've gone ahead and did round 1, round 2, round 3. This is the second time now. I finished the first round of 4. Now this was the second round. This is the round we're going to do the decrease on. So now I'm right here on, I'm coming up and I'm just finishing round number 4. And this is the round that I want to do my decrease on. Like I said, for longer sleeves or your arms are just longer, you'd have to work 5 and then you'd be on round 6 at the end of round 6. And I've kept a little tally sheet every time I finished a round. Round 1, round 2, round 3. So now I'm getting ready to finish round 4. And that's my decrease round for me. So here we go. Alright, so I'm just going to knit up to my marker to 2 stitches before the marker. This is at the end of my round 4. So I knit up to 2 stitches before my marker right there, and I'm just going to do a simple knit 2 together. And then slide the marker. And I know I could do another stitch on this side, but I found that if I would simply knit 2 together, again, it makes a really nice seam. So on this side of the marker, I knit 2 together again. I've made 2 decreases, one on this side and one on this side. When I knitted up to the last 2 stitches, I knit 2 together, I slide the marker. Alright, that ended round 4. Now I knit 2 together on this side and it starts a new round. So first of all, I'm going to take, and of course everybody knows how to tally. You know, a lot of people do that in knitting. So now I marked off. There's the first increase for me. And you tally yours, you know, whether you were doing 4 rounds or 6 rounds. Now, before I go any further, let me just say this. As you start to knit, of course, the sleeve circumference is a lot smaller than the body circumference. That's another thing. So I found that while I was knitting this sleeve, let's see if I'm on camera, can you see that? Yep. While I was knitting this sleeve, I realized, okay, the circumference is going to be smaller, so I'm going to have to deliberately add these colors. Just stop this color, add this one, stop this color. And I decided to do it every time, every other decrease round. Every other decrease round. So I had 2 rounds, a plain round, and then I just finished a decrease round. So I'm going to grab the next color for me. It's white and then it's lavender. So I've got some lavender here. Here we go. So I've got my lavender right here. So I am just going to hook it right over my needle, leave a tail, just start right in, and I'm going to start, because I've made 1 decrease, but this starts round 1 again. This is round 1. Don't let it confuse you. I've finished 4. Now this starts round 1 because I've passed the marker, and I'm also changing my color, my next color. For me, it is lavender. So I just went through my cake and found some lavender. So then I start knitting again. So now I'm knitting around. This is round 1. And I've just made 1 decrease. And I can keep track of it because I'm going to tally it off. Now, like I said, if you want longer sleeves or you just have longer arms, you will decrease every 6 rounds. Just real simple. Keep it simple, people. Keep it simple. And so I'm going around. Something else I was going to tell you too, but I'm going to see if I can get around so we can. See, now I'm keeping my colors in the right order. Drop that on the floor. And I'm going to change my colors. Put the next color every 2 repeats. Let's say it that way. Every 2 repeats. So I'd have to do 2 repeats before I go down and change it to the pink for me. So there is some decisions, you know, there is some decisions if you decided to work your sweater in this stripe type yarn. Now, if you've worked your sweater in a solid, you're just breezing through this. You're just listening, going, okay, I got it. But I already had one solid, and I was wanting to see what this yarn would do. Oh. So far, it's real pretty. It's a nice little old sweater. I mean, you know, like I said, it's not high end, but we were looking to get the numbers right and get the fit right. Once you do that, then you can use whatever yarn you want. So I'm coming around to, hope this is on camera. I just want you to see. It's just so much when you have to rotate up the whole sweater. Okay, I'm coming around, all right. This, ooh, there's a little loose spot there. Let's see how can I pull that tight. There's my mark. Now, as soon as I slide the mark, I just finished round 1, so stop, I'll tally. So right here, I'll mark 1. I just finished round 1. So when I slide the marker, now I start round 2. And I'll cut off the previous yarn, or either you can even pull the tail. Let's see, can I cut that off now? I can cut the old yarn off, and you can grab both yarns if you want to, because it's under the arm, it's not gonna. And then drop the tail. And then I'm just going to keep on knitting. So I am working on round 2 now. Let's see, can I get it turned around here a little bit so we can see. So I will continue to work round and round. Now you can see my color change. After 2, I go round and round. I'm going to decrease when I get to the end of round 4 for me. I will get 2 stitches before the marker, knit 2 together, slide the marker, knit 2 together, go around 4 more times, do the same thing, and then change color. Does that make sense? Just to kind of keep the colors in the same sequence and about the same size, but just as long as you keep it in the same color sequence. Does that make sense? And of course, every time you'll tally and you'll keep up with it. Now, all right, you're going to go, okay, how far do I need to go, Jay? Well, now that you're going to have to be able to, you can just stop, put your caps on, and every once in a while you can slide your arm into your sleeve now. Even on this side, you know, even with on the needles, you can slide it in because we're decreasing down towards the cuff. I know my cuff size is always 44. My cuff size is 44 when we're doing, and that's good because we're going to go back into the 1x1 ribbing. And when you do the 1x1 ribbing in the round, you need a even number. When you're doing it flat, we need an odd number. But when you're doing it in the round, I need for it to be an even number. My cuff number, see, I use the same numbers all the time. My cuff number is 44. So, you'll have to keep sticking your arms in, your arm in, your wrist in, to see about how far you can go down. Try your best to stay on your 16s until you get to where you want to do a cuff. And then I will keep decreasing until I have 44 stitches left. And after I reach my number, or you reach your number after sticking your arm in this sweater, just put your wrist in and keep decreasing. And then you will go around 4 more times after you finish decreasing, then 1 more round of 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to clear everything and make everything clean. Then that's when we will stop and go to double pointed needles. It's either 4 or 6, whichever one. 4 for short arms, 6 for longer. I didn't know how else to say it. So, see, I'll just keep going. Now I know that I need to keep decreasing for me till I get down to 44 stitches. You will have to just decide, just by putting your arm and your wrist into your sleeve as it decreases, about how many you need. Or on my little, you could also do this. Let me just show you this. A lot of times I will do this. You can just take this and kind of hold it to where you want it. Since this is 1 by 1 ribbing, and you can kind of count. You can count about how many you need for how far down. If you want it way, really low, you're going to have to keep decreasing. And you may have to go to smaller, to double points quicker. But my sleeve is like right here. So mine comes to 44 stitches right in there. So that's a good way if you use the bottom to try to figure out how many stitches you need to get down to, and it needs to be an even number. All right, I just want to get all that in. I hope it's plain. I hope it's not confusing. Just take your time and either get a counter or tally every time you make a decrease. You go around 1, 2, 3. On the 4th time you go around, that's when you do a decrease. Then you start the count again. 1, 2, 3. When you get to 4, you go all the way around, and when you 2 stitches before the marker, slide the marker, 2 stitches after, start again. 1, 2. Okay, Jay. I'm filming this like at 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know what I was doing all day. I don't know. I just couldn't get over here to do it. Oh, that's the way it is when you get to the end of a project. It's like pulling teeth. It's like, oh, Jay, just go do it. So it's like 1 in the morning. And I'm back here in my studio trying to film the last part of my knit along on my sweater. Plump. Maybe I'll pass out. I guess I'll go to bed. I guess I'll stop keeping you. Look, I guess we'll stop laughing together. I guess I'll go to bed now. All right. We're working on the sleeve. Just listen to the whole this section all the way through, and then just start working. But just once you start your decreases, just keep up, or either just know about how many, like I said, use the bottom or something, count, and see if you need to get down to 40 or 38. If you got long arm, 36. It needs to be an even number. All right. Good night, people. I think that was all I was trying to get on this one. Okay, I think that's enough, and then I can try to add more tomorrow night. I'll start early. All right, take care. Happy knitting. See ya. All right, so I've worked off camera to get the sleeve up to where I'm about ready to start the cuff. And I need to, well, let me just finish. I'm on at the end of my round 4 where I do my decrease. So I've knit that stitch, and then I come to 2 stitches before the marker. I knit 2 together, slide the marker, and I knit 2 stitches together on this side. Now, I've already counted, so I don't count again, but when I count around, I should have 44 stitches. That's what I want. That's what I was aiming for my sleeve cuff. Whatever you have to put your arm in and working, or like I showed you how to use the bottom of the sweater, the one by one ribbing, to see about how many stitches you need. And you need an even number since we're working in the round. All right, now this is a correction. The next thing is, I think I said previously, after you finish doing the last decreases, instead of knitting 4 more rounds, I just need you to knit 1 round. So that was a mistake. I don't know, I was thinking of something else. So, for instance, I just finished the last 2 decreases. Now I'm just going to knit 1 round. That just locks in the decreases so I don't lose them or have a problem. So let me get around, and we will start. I'll show you how we'll go from these circulars, and I'll use my double points. So I'll just do this on camera. Let's see how quick. So no, you do not need to do 4 more rounds after you do the last decrease. Just do 1 round just to make sure everything is cleaned up and the decrease stitches are locked in. They're not gonna, we don't want them to come off or I don't know. I just like to lock them in. So I do 1 round, not 4. And as you notice, let me just get around here. On this particular sample, I decided, like on this sleeve, to stay with the last color, whatever the last color. When I got down to where I want to start my ribbing, I just thought it looked nicer and pleasing to the eye to stay with that color, not to change, just like I did on the bottom ribbing. So I ended with pink on this one, so I ended with pink on this one too, on this side. So I'm just knit this one last round before we go into the ribbing, just to make all the stitches nice and neat, make sure that my decreases are secure. So I come up, and I just knit. I'm just knitting like pull it up. All right, I see the mark coming up, and make sure I'm staying on camera. Such a large piece of fabric. So for those that are new and want to work on, because the circumference should be getting so small now, it's becoming uncomfortable to work on these on this 16-inch circular. So I need to change to my double points. All right, I see here, right here, I see that this is the beginning of the round, and this is going to just be in the way to work with this one, because it's going to fall off and you'll keep putting it on. So right here, before I go any further, I take one that I can, or you may have one of the little ones that look like a little pin, like a little straight pin. Let's see if I have one of those that may look even better than that one. Look at my box here. See if I've got one over here. Oh, I do. I see one. Okay. Let's put that back. I'll change and put this one. A lot of you have this type. You want to go ahead and mark your round, the beginning of the round, because that's going to be important, and you won't have to worry about this one coming off. See, now that locks in. There's the beginning of each round. All right, so now you have to just set your mind to work on double pointed needles. You just, if you're new, you just set your mind. If you're a seasoned knitter, like me, you've been doing it a long time, it's no big deal. Okay, here are, let me make sure I'm not too close. Here are my double points that I'm going to use. Of course, I'm just using clover because I have tons of clover. And this is my number 9. Remember, this whole sweater was done in number 9, on my number 9 needles. All right, so there are 5 in the pack, but we're only going to use 4. Now, some people might use all 5, but I just use the 4. So I take 4 out, and I'll lay that up here. Now I'm going to show you how I do mine. If you're a seasoned knitter, you do it however you want, But if you're new, this is easy, and it helps you to know to stay in pattern. All right, I have gone around one time just to smooth everything out. Now I'm ready to go to double point needles and do knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, 1 by 1 ribbing. So this is how I do it. Take your first needle. First of all, I'm going to cap this one. Cap that side so it's out of the way. And not, see? Make sure, because I don't want to start doing this, and I think I'll back out just a little bit. Make sure I'm on. Okay. Now here we go. I do it in just like I'm going to be knitting. So I take this needle, one, and I go knit, purl, knit, purl. Yes, I do. As long as I've been knitting, I still do it the same way. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. That way I don't have to count anything. Knit, oops, knit, purl. And if you notice, I'm picking them up as if I was going to purl, going in this direction. So, knit, purl. I have 3 needles to pick up on. So knit, I started with a knit on every needle, and I will end with a purl on every needle. It is super easy. I don't forget. I don't get there and go, oh, I got to switch some of the stitches around because I don't have enough on one needle and too many on another. Drop that needle with those stitches. Start again with the next needle. And you go knit, purl. Now these are long, so that's the only thing. Knit, purl. Here we go. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Okay, so you just kind of spread them out. Don't put too many. There's 2 needles right there. So pick up the last one. Start again. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. These are so long, they just stick me. Okay, if you lose count, just go back. Knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Then knit, purl, knit, and purl. Now I don't have to count or wonder if I have enough, the right amount of stitches on the needle. Now I am done with another circular needle. I can lay it aside. And I have that, my mark in, so I know where the beginning, of course, your yarn is there also. Now guess what? Since we put it on in the order that we're going to knit, there's no guesswork now. Or you don't have to go through and count and see. You just start. Just like this. And make sure the yarn is behind that first needle. And I just simply go into no knit. Then yarn in front. Purl. Yarn in back. Knit. And I do pull. I on this first row anyway to make sure. Purl, that's not too loose because we have all these needles. Knit, purl. Then I do a knit, purl. Then I do a knit and then a purl. Yarn back, I do a knit, then a purl, then a knit, and voila, we end with a purl, which is what you should knit, end on every needle. Now, there's the first needle. Then I take this needle and continue around. Everything is already, I've already counted it out, so I don't have anything to do but just go back into, every one starts with a knit, then purl. Kind of tug at it on this first row just to make sure that things are not too loose. Like I said, the hardest thing about these, now there are short needles. You have to look for them. I was going to use them, but then I was afraid, you know, since everybody wouldn't have them, I thought it's best to use what I know that everyone would have. And that's these long, cumbersome, they're so long. See, they just get all in the way, and they stick me, and I'm always sticking my hands, but I do have short ones, and you can get short needles. Of course, it's, you know, if you have a lot of stitches, then, you know, you take a chance on losing some stitches. So, as they say, you just have to get used to. Now, I come to the last stitch on this needle, and of course, we've already counted out, so it should be a purl, just like that. Turn the work, just rotate your sleeve around. Let's see, how am I doing? If I'm still on camera, I hope so. Oh, so I put the needle in, the empty needle here. Make sure your yarn is in the back, and you start again. Knit, purl, knit. After a while, you'll get your own little rhythm, and you'll get used to these long needles. I don't do a lot of double point. You know, I don't use them a lot. But it's essential that if you have to, you need to know how to use them. See, now you can go a little faster once you get a little rhythm going, and you get used to how they feel in your hands and how they're sticking. Just make sure nothing comes loose over there. So that was a knit, so this is a purl, knit, and the last stitch is a purl. And look, we're back at our mark, and now you will continue to just go round and round and round until you decide how many rounds. Like I said, I just like the bottom. Where's my other sleeve? Okay, so I went about 13 or so rows. Of course, we're not worried about the wrong side on this because everything in the round is facing you. But you do as many as you want, and then, of course, you're going to bind off in pattern just like you did the bottom ribbing. So, however many rounds you go on one sleeve, do it on the other. Or try to match to keep it nice and neat. Whatever you did here on the bottom ribbing, do it there on the cuff. What do you think of that? Well, all right, so there's no more instruction except to go back and weave in all these ends and all of this, especially in the sleeves where we had to, you know, attach yarns in the right sequence to keep the colors going right. So now we have a lot of weaving in. I have my buttons. Of course, I finished this cuff. Then I'm going to take it to my ironing board, or some of you have a steamer. And I'm going to, after I weave in everything, before I put my buttons on, I'm going to take this sweater and turn it inside out so it's on the wrong side. And then I'm simply going to steam it just lightly. I never get real close. I just steam it with my iron. But I only steam stockinette. Some of you might like to wet block it, but I don't have all that room in my house, and I don't want wet yarn everywhere. That's just more than it's just acrylic yarn. So, but I never steam or anything like my ribbing or anything. I mainly steam anything that's laced and get it to open, or stockinette, where there's a lot of stockinette. But I do it on the wrong side and just simply hand press as I'm steaming. Steam, hand press, just like hand press, move it around the ironing board. Hand press, and that's about it. But I do like to do this. Now, this is maybe the only place that I would maybe steam the front side. You know, when you send your things to the cleaners, and they always take your sleeve, and they put the seam in the center. So I turn it where the seam is. Just see that nice seam? Let's see if I'm on camera so you can see my nice seam. Well, let's lay it down. Okay, that's better. Okay, so you see the nice seam I have going right down. Okay, then I would take this, and this is about the only time I turn it on this side, and it's on the right side. And just like they do in the laundry, so that your sleeve is pressed this way and not this way. I like to steam mine with the seam right in the center, flat. Make sure I'm on camera. Yep. Shh, not the cuff. Shh. And then I lightly hand press. Shh. I just like that look when I get it back, when I hang it up. Well, you know, when I look at it, then the sleeve is pressed like a sleeve would be, and not like this. Does that make sense? And of course I have to get my buttons. So I'm running against time to try to get this to him so that he can go through it and put it all together, and then I can look at it and critique it and decide if there's anything that I need to take out or fix. And of course I need some pictures. And of course I want to make sure I'm finished, have the buttons on. I don't know if I get on camera because my hair's a mess. Look, my hair's a mess. But I will wear it at some time. I will, you know, if I see if I have time to do something to my hair, I'll put it on. But it really looks really nice. But of course, I've got to finish this cuff. Well, what do you think? This is my first knit along. And this is all I got to say. What the knit along was I thinking? This was so much work. Oh my gosh, trying to stay ahead and try to get it right. I've enjoyed it though. I hope you have. You know, if you're not going to give it a try or enjoy it, what a waste of my time and of your time. So I hope you give this a chance. What we were trying to do was get good numbers for your fit. You know, and then the next time we do this, and there will be a next time, you're going to have your numbers all written down. You're going to write your numbers all down, and you're going to have your idea of how to do the schematic. Isn't that fun? I love doing the little schematics. You're going to have all of this ready. And then the next time, we're going to do something different in the front. Maybe do some type of lace or something. I don't know. I may work something different for the collar. I have no idea until it just hits. But we will be doing this, and I will be using my same numbers. So you've got to get like I said, hopefully you pick the numbers that will fit you if you follow the steps. And, I hope your sweater works for you. The only variable in here, because I wasn't sure, are the sleeves. And if you see that the sleeves, if there's just too much, maybe everything else fit, and the sleeves maybe were a little much, especially after we had to increase, the 4 stitches or whatever underneath, you can go back to the original number. You can always go back to your original number, because those are the numbers that I round off and make them divisible by 4. Always my base numbers. So, for instance, if I felt like, well, this sleeve is maybe it was a little too much, all I need to do, everything else might, but I would take 4 stitches. All you have to do, because we round everything up or down to the number, by the number 4, then I can just take 4 from 60 and get, 56. So that would decrease my sleeve by 4 stitches. Of course, it may change this number too, but everything else will be pretty much the same. And then you just add that up again, and then you'll know. And then you follow the same sequence. But that is the variable. That's the number. These numbers you've counted out or you swatched them. These are the numbers that remain the same. But this number here, your sleeves, sometimes, because I don't know about other people's arms, some people are heavy in the top part of the arms. Some people have very slim arms. And if the sleeve is a little fuller than you like, then all you have to do is take away 4 stitches. Because that's how it works. Because I round everything up, or round everything off to a number divisible by 4. See, it makes it so much easier. You don't have to start all over. All right. Well, until I get some pictures up, thank you so much for joining my knit along. Like I said, it was a lot of work. It's exciting. Please send me some pictures of your sweater. Take nice pictures. Send me at least 2 or 3 views, not from the front, just the sweater. Now, not, I like you, but that's all right. We want the sweater. We want, from the front, from the back, just hang it up real pretty and take some really pretty pictures. And so we can share them with everyone. Let them see that not only can you knit bottom up, but we can knit top down too. And did you notice? We didn't even do it with the pattern. We did it out of, as my friend Judy used to say, out of our own little brain. Oh, so until we see each other again, happy knitting. Thank you so much. Take care and enjoy your sweater. I got to finish up so I can get some good pictures and try to get this uploaded, because I still have to do March. We're in March, but I still have to do March project. And I hope you're gonna like it. It's gonna be a crochet. Okay, this is Jay. This is Jay's Knit and Purl Jam. See ya.